much. So, as Nilanjana very correctly said, that I bring with me corporate teaching training experience, and I have been in this field for close to 20 years now. So, and technology has always been my area of interest, and that is what I will be talking to you about. But before I begin, I would just some words of appreciation, deep appreciation for the kind of FDP that Sunbeam Women's College has managed to pull off. It's the 10 days have been absolutely the kind of speakers that move like clockwork. So to that extent, I can imagine what kind of a task that is. And the fact that you've managed to do that, congratulations to you and to your entire team. All right, so I will begin. Let me begin with sharing my the presentation that I have prepared. So today is day 9 for all of us, and I'm sure you had some very interesting sessions in the past, and 9th day I had requested to come towards the end, and Nilanjana agreed thankfully. So to that I'm really grateful. But I can understand how difficult it has been for all of you to have been logged in and been so active and participating all through the 9 days. So there was, I'm sure you heard of Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and there was a speech of his which went viral sometimes back. And that was the speech that was reminded of when I was just preparing my presentation. So before I actually come down to my topic of interest, I would like to share a few moments from that speech. Okay. Is my screen visible? Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Excellent. Yeah. So this is what I will be talking to you about. But yeah, as I promised, a small clipping from Dr. Tharoor's speech, which seemed to be very pertinent to what I would be doing today. You will please, Nilanjana, also tell me if the audio is also, I mean, you can listen to the audio as well. Sorry. Can you hear it?
Ma'am, the audio is not very clear. I mean, it's breaking. It's breaking. The video audio is breaking.
Sorry, the audio is breaking?
Yeah.
I'm not very sure if I'll be able to help here. Let me just. All right. So if you've been able, I'm sure you would have heard this speech earlier. If yes, fantastic. If no, the only point that Dr. Tharoor is trying to make is that there was this debate where there were 8 speakers. He's the 7th of the 8th speaker. So there's a lot of information that has already been shared. So he didn't know how to do it differently. And the same thing holds true for me. There have been such wonderful sessions before me. I know what is expected of me. I'm just trying to think how to do that differently. And that is what we will be looking at it. So before we begin, some apology also. I hope my computer behaves throughout the session. It usually does, but sometimes it has a mind of its own. So if it does, I'll apologize for that in advance. All right. Now, when we're talking about online assessment tools during this talk, what I will largely be doing, sharing my experiences of using these tools with you all. So during the lockdown, I'm sure all of you have experimented with these tools. You've seen what can be done, what cannot be done. So that experience is what I will be sharing with you, and I hope it can be helpful to some of you. I'll be very happy to take any inputs that you have because just as teaching, learning is also an ongoing experience, and I would love it. It would be wonderful for me to expand my horizon. So now coming to the topic, what we will be talking on online assessment tools. So I attended a couple of sessions during this FDP only, where yesterday you had sessions where formative assessments and summative assessments were dealt with. So we have an idea of what exactly we are looking at. We've looked at blended classrooms. We've had some sessions where we looked at the various apps or tools that could be used and in different ways that could be used. So coming from there, when we look at assessments in general, what exactly, why are assessments important? Why is it necessary for us to have the assessments? So any teaching learning process is incomplete if we do not include the assessments. So you would largely be teaching in the dark if there was no methods of judging or assessing or evaluating what you have taught. So it is an integral part of the entire teaching learning process. Assessments help in determining whether the goals of the education have been met. So as I mentioned, if there were no assessments, it would be teaching in the dark. Are you actually teaching what you think you are teaching? So you have something in your mind and you think that you are teaching that, but is that what the students are actually taking away? So for that, again, assessments become very, very important to determine whether the module's learning objectives have been met. Yesterday, we learned about course objectives or session objectives or in fact program objectives. So learning by objectives has become the buzzword these days. So there is no purpose, so that there's no point of teaching anything if there is no ultimate objective. And how do you understand, how do you find out whether you have actually met those objectives or not? So there again, assessments come into play. Then they provide comparative data to distinguish between students for pass-fail decisions to be made. This time we saw, because of the pandemic, the end term exams, the 10th boards and the 12th boards could not be held. And I think that the students have some kind of a setting with the coronavirus, because every year it comes right at the time of the assessments. So I think 2020 also it was March, April. 21 also it was March, April, and those are the times when actual assessments happen. So when those assessments were not able to take place, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of thought went into how to actually assess the students, how do you decide the pass and fail. So if there is no assessment, it is very difficult to get the pass and fail percentage. Then you have assessments are also important to set standards for the course by which external parties can review the course. You would have seen a number of organizational institutions where they have, you'll have full page newspaper ads where they'll have photographs of all their students who have scored well. So, and that becomes a parameter, or that becomes the standards. It sets benchmarks or standards for external parties to assess how well or how poorly an organization, an educational institution is doing. So there are a number of And these are largely, when we're talking about these goals, these are largely the goals of of summative assessments. There is, we looked at formative as well as summative assessments yesterday. So uh, what would be the basic differences between the two? And again, so formative assessments, when we look at that, they are conducted during the instruction. So during the course of instruction, which they could be in the form of different kinds. We'll just have a look at it. But so formative assessments will be during your lectures, during your sessions, during your course that you are teaching. It could be during every lecture. It could be at the end of maybe one or two lectures to understand. So if when you are trying to figure out whether you are meeting the session objectives, so you will have an assessment taken during that session. If you want to understand whether you are achieving the course objectives, so maybe there are 15 sessions or 30 sessions scheduled for a credit. So during that, you'll have what is known as continuous evaluation or continuous assessments. And the lockdown has shown us how important this continuous assessment becomes. So formative assessments will typically be conducted during instruction, whereas summative assessments will be conducted at the end after you've completed a particular course, or so this would be typically your half yearlies or third monthlies or your end semester exams. So they happen at fixed intervals. So assessment for learning and formative assessments are for your learning process. They can improve, they can make your teaching process smoother. Whereas summative assessments are assessments of learning, what you have learned, how much have you learned. So there a lot has been delivered, how much have you actually been able to grasp. So that is an assessment of learning. The goal in formative assessments would be to improve the quality of learning, quality of teaching learning. So that is the basic assessment. So when you talk doing formative assessment, you're not actually assessing the students. It is to understand how well your what you're trying to teach is actually reaching out to the students. Whereas when you're looking at summative assessments, that is to prove the quality of teaching. How much have you taught, how much the student has been able to grasp. Formative assessments is a continuous process, whereas summative assessments, as we already talked about, will be conducted at fixed intervals. And formative assessments normally are used to promote student engagement, whereas summative will be promoting student evaluation. Largely, those would be the main differences. Most of the tools that I will be handling today, that we will be talking today, are concerned with formative assessments. Some of them can also be used as a summative, which I will be taking up as and when during the course when we talk about the different tools. All right, so when we look at summative assessments, it is important to keep a track of the student's progress, to modify the speed or the level of instruction. Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? If I go too fast, maybe some of the learners cannot actually grasp. If I'm going too slow, the students start to lose interest because it becomes repetitive. Level of instruction. So do I aim my teaching at the fast learners? Or do I aim my teaching at the slow learners? For gauging student attention and motivation, and this becomes important. I'm sure all of us as academicians, when we enter a classroom, one of the aims of taking the lecture is to ensure that the student continues to pay attention. It continues to be motivated during the session. So when yesterday we were learning about blended learning, or when we were taking sessions online, it is more difficult to gauge the level of student engagement. That it is more difficult to gauge whether the students are paying attention. It's very easy. I'm sure all of us have done at some point of time, just logged into a session and the session is on and you're doing your stuff. So am I actually paying attention? Not really. Are the students paying attention? For them, for actual learning to take place within a classroom setting in an offline mode, it is more easy for us to ensure that attention motivation is in place. But in online setting or in blended settings, you need specific tools to ensure that the attention and motivation is continued. Then in case you have to make adjustments such as reteaching, maybe there is a topic that you want to take up again, trying alternative instructional approaches or offering more opportunities for practice, uh, so that it can lead to improve the student success. So or trying alternative instructional approaches. Maybe you have tried a lecture, maybe you and the point has not come across, so maybe you introduce an activity in there, you have some discussions. So yeah, so you will try different instructional approaches to get your point across. Maybe you'll give them a case study, maybe, whichever way you feel that the students can be involved and motivated. Then also formative assessment helps in providing the students with feedback, and there have been a huge amount of studies which have talked about the importance of giving feedback to the students during instruction. Feedback which comes at the end of a course really does not matter, because the student does not get an opportunity to improve. If you are able to give a feedback during the instruction time, the student can improve and show better results within the course time, increasing student motivation, engagement, and autonomy of learning. Now, there was this very interesting experiment which was done by Black and Williams, and this was way back in 2010, which talked about when you strengthen formative assessment. If you have your formative assessment in place, it results in better results in the summative assessment, especially for low achieving students. So the low achieving students, they require that regular feedback. They require to be tested from time to time to see how well they are doing. So if you are able to do that throughout the session, your end term results become much better. So traditionally, when we're talking about formative assessment, I'm sure all of us have been doing that in our classroom. We might not know that it was formative assessment, but yes, by observation, you go into a class and you look at the students, whether they are paying attention, whether they're not paying attention, they're looking at you. So yes, eye contact is an important parameter of ensuring that they are attentive. Even when you're taking a lecture and there will be some student who is maybe frowning when you're talking. So maybe a concept is not clear. And you can reach out to the student. Is it not clear? Shall I move ahead? Shall I not move ahead? So I'm sure we keep questioning the students all the time when we are taking the sessions. You can, in class, you can do questioning by show of hands. How many of you are clear on this topic? Raise your hand. Shall I move ahead? Do we need to go over this? Just simply asking the students. Then discussions. The think, pair, share methods. So you give a topic, you ask the students to think about that particular topic. At the end of maybe 5 minutes, you ask that student to share their thoughts with the person sitting next to him or her. So there is pair work. You introduce pair work and take 5 minutes for the pair work, and then this pair work will disseminate their learnings with the rest of the class. So the think, pair, share methods have also been very, very successfully used for formative assessments. Self-assessments, you take a session and then you give a rubric. So maybe I've taken up any topic, maybe CV formation. I'm teaching the students how to build their CVs. So everyone has made their CVs, and I give them a rubric of the CV at the end of the class, and they themselves can evaluate whether their CV is up to the standard or not. So self-assessment, and of course feedback from the faculty. So these are some of the traditional methods that have been used in the classroom for formative assessments. But as we move to online teaching, or we move to blended learning, then some of these methods no longer work. So in recent time, teachers lost out on most of the in-class formative assessment techniques. It was seen that the lack of student engagement was a severe obstacle to achieving learning outcomes. So online assessment tools, though they have been around for a very long time, they were largely delegated to distance learning or to for the MOOCs, the massive online courses that we have. In those sessions, only we saw a heightened use of these online assessment tools. But with the lockdown and work from home and online classes, there has been a renewed and heightened interest in these tools. With online tools, the teacher could monitor students' progress, receive diagnostic information on the areas in which the students need to practice more. Uh, Now, before these online tools, there have been in classes, we have seen the use of the active response system, the ARS, so to say, or the student response system, the SRS. These have been used in the class. They are widely used in the Western parts, in the US classrooms. I'm sure if you watch any of the Hollywood movies which has a classroom scene, you'll see students using these very, very regularly. So what are these clickers? These are called clickers. What are these clickers? I'm sure all of us, we've seen Kaun Banega Karodpati, and there is a helpline which is audience poll. So the audience is given this clicker in hand and they can simply click on option A, B, C, or D. Prior to these online tools, clickers have been in use, and it was seen that so the teacher, how these clickers work, the students enter a classroom and each student is issued one clicker. The teacher can put the questions on the board, or the teacher can verbally ask a question, and the students press option A, B, C, or D. There is a screen, there is a software which is required, and the answers are transmitted onto the screen. Why were clickers supposed to be good? Why were they seen to be helpful? Because largely we saw that it was a break from the top-down communication, teacher to student. Normally in a classroom, what do we see? We see teacher to student communication happening. We do not, so by the use of clickers, what we saw was that the students could also reach out to the teacher. And how would that be? Supposing the teacher asks, is the topic clear? Should we move on? And at that point of time, the student simply needs to say yes or no. What normally we saw was people can use show of hands also, but the show of hands, normally we saw that only the more active students participating in the class that way. So the online tools proved to be more inclusive. There is an anonymity involved with these clickers or the online tools, in fact, and there was more of engagement and inclusion. Not only the more active ones, but even the shy ones were able to participate. So these tools, they enhanced active learning, participation, performance, accountability, and enjoyment of the students. They also stimulate peer and class discussion, improve class environment, learning, and assessments. So formative assessment using these tools improve the quality of the teaching activities and related learning outcomes for the students. In addition, these tools could be used to create engaging games in the form of quizzes, competitions, leading to the gamification of learnings. Now, a couple of lines on gamification. I'm sure all of us have heard of it. Sometimes we have used it in a classroom also. So gamification largely is when you're using competitions or games to as a pedagogy for teaching. While playing, learning takes place intuitively and spontaneously. Gaming becomes an important pedagogy while teaching. So games as learning tools boost the learner's enjoyment, engagement, motivation, focus, and meaningful learning. Any kind of anything that we're learning while playing is always fun. So yes, there were in class games. Sometimes you have competitions, or sometimes you may have role plays for getting a point across. And what are all these? These are all different games which you are taking up in the class for the purpose of meeting the objectives of the module. So the games have positive effects on students' engagement. They encourage social skills and creativity. They help to create positive classroom atmosphere. Effectiveness of the games resides not only in the design of the game, but in the challenge they pose. So again, so gamification is a whole different topic, again, which can be taken up as a separate session. But so there will be a competition, there's a challenge, there are lots of factors which need to be kept in mind when designing a game. So there has to be a challenge, there has to be interest, there should be feedback, there should be rewards. So all of these things are included if you are actually to use gamification. All right. With online tools, learners can play in teams. There are lots of tools where learners can play in teams or as individuals and receive immediate feedback on their answers. So with this, we move to certain, we've seen that online tools will largely improve the atmosphere of the class. But how do we decide which online assessment tool do we take up? So the first thing that you need to do is evaluate prerequisites for implementing online assessments. What are the prerequisites? You look at the what technology do you have? What technology do the students have? Then you look at the assessment of activities. Your activity should be aligned with the learning objectives. Don't use a tool for the sake of using tool, or because you've learned a tool, or because you find it very fun and engaging. Each tool, there are certain things that can be done with it. There are certain things that cannot be done with it. So is it in line with the learning objective? That is something that you need to keep in mind all the time. Then you need to see that they address the diversity of students' situation. So this lockdown within a classroom, frankly, now this is a personal learning for me. Within a classroom, the students come and sit, and rarely do we look beyond their presence in the class. But when we were taking online sessions, you actually got to know of the actual background, the situation that the students are dealing with. So in one of, as one of my assessments, I had uploaded a video, and the student was to go through the video and give and fill up some questions. There were 5 or 6 students whose assessments didn't come in the fixed time. So when I was asking the students, and I was not very happy about it, so I would have not used my best tone with them, and I asked them that why didn't the assessments come in, and they said they were in one of they stay in one of the suburbs where the electricity came in very fixed times, and because of those fixed times, it is only when the electricity came could they access the material and then respond. There's another student who had one of the assessments, the entire answer, which was roughly 200 250 word answer to a question, was typed on the phone, and before I could actually ask him why was it not in the proper format, the answer he gave that he is someone from his family was admitted in the hospital, he's sitting in the hospital and typing out his answers on the phone. So the point is, you have to address the diversity of the student's situation. You need to be understanding some of the technology that you may use may not be in line, or may not be in sync with what the students have. So that is very important to understand, because you might have a very, very sophisticated tool, but if it is not translating to what the students can use, it will not be of much use. When using a tool, it is advisable to maintain a good balance of formative and summative assessments. There are some tools which work very well with summative only. There are some tools which work very well with formative. So having a mix of the two will make your teaching more interesting and to stimulate student learning with online assessments. So yes, that is important. Now, then one of the questions I saw sometime back was they asked that when do you use online assessments? What is the best time in a session to use these online assessments? Uh, Now, for different people, it will be, it's a very individual distinction that people would want to make. But so this was, again, part of a study that I came across. And for formative assessments, when you actually want to assess how much of learning has taken place during a class, in a 60-minute session, uh, what they had talked about is that the span, and again, there are studies on this, the span of an average student largely lasts for 20 minutes. The attention span of any student will largely last for 20 minutes. And this is more true for undergrad students than postgrad. So what the study suggested was you break your teaching sessions into 2 slots of 20 minutes each, taking a 5-minute break in between. And this break, you could give the students a complete break, or you could, so maybe you are teaching a especially heavy topic. So you teach for 20 minutes. And in 5 minutes, you can generally have some short banter, have a slight informal conversation, just so to break the mood of the heavy mood in the classroom. And then you resume your heavy text for the next 20 minutes. Your formative, keep the last 15 minutes to actually test them on whether they have understood whatever you have taught in the last 40 minutes or so. So the study concluded was one of the best ways of conducting your formative assessments. However, I just want to leave this as a thought with you, whether you want to go ahead with it, whether this is the best suited method. A lot of hit and trial will be required for you to come onto your comfort zone. So for today's session, what I had decided that I will be looking at these 4 assessment tools. These are the 4 tools that I will be trying to give you some hands-on experience with. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I will largely be sharing my experiences of using these tools, how I have tried to adopt them, what are the goods, the bad, the pros, the cons of these tools. So there are numerous tools, and every day we are coming up with new ones. I had initially thought of also adding Kahoot and quizzes, but you had a wonderful session which talked about those, so I've simply removed that, and that is what comes of requesting to go in the end, because these sessions are already in place. All right. So now when we're looking, let's begin with the first one, which is Answer Garden. What exactly is this tool? So Answer Garden, we'll begin with the first one. The features of Answer Garden, I'm beginning with this because this is one of the most basic, a very minimalistic feedback tool. And what does it do? It creates real-time word clouds. So it is best for one word or one phrase or phrase answer. So you have taught something and you want to feedback from the class. You send in this question to the students write back, and a word cloud can be created. You can use it for an opening to pique interest or as an icebreaker in the class. You can use it at the ending to get feedback. This is one of the best tools, the most easy to operate from a teacher point of view, as well as from the student's point of view, for brainstorming and idea generation. What should we name? What should be the name of any particular course that you are planning to do, or you want to set up a club, and you want to look at naming options for the club. So then Answer Garden would be the best feature for you to go ahead. It can also be used for polling decisions. So you have 4 options, you give the students those options and they can use it. Now let us look at Answer Garden more closely. So when you log into Answer Garden, this will be your landing page. Landing page is the page that pops up when you type in the word. So this is what it is. There are some options which we will currently look at, and these are the kind of word clouds that are generated. So the question was, what makes you happy? And different people have written about what makes them happy. Chocolate is the, so more the number of people take up similar, give similar answers, larger that word or phrase will become. So since chocolate is the biggest word, we can assume the size of the word chocolate is the biggest. We can assume that maximum number of people have chosen this, 347 people to be precise, and that is how these word clouds exist. Okay, so now let us very quickly check out answer garden. I will try and all right. So is the screen visible? Yes, no, any yes, no works for me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Is the screen with the answer garden visible, guys?
Answer garden is visible. I mean, you were running it on.
It is visible. All right, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Fine. So this is what the landing page of answer garden looks like. What you have to do if you want to create a new question, it's extremely simple. There is no logging in, there is no account creation, there is nothing that you have to do at your end. You see this small plus sign, you will click on this, and this is how you create your new question. So for supposing you are taking up CV building only, and you want to engage the students, you want to take feedback on the students, you can simply type in, all right. So supposing I want to take up a feedback from the students, and while CV building, I can type the question, what are the skills required for a sales profile? Once you've typed in the question, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that the question will take only 65 characters. So your question need to be slightly, you'll have to be slightly careful while writing your question. It has to be short. Once you have written your question, then you go down to the options available. There are different modes available to you. There is a brainstorming mode. In the brainstorming mode, the participants are free to put in as many answers as they want to, unlimited answers, and they can keep repeating the same answer. So for example, if I felt that communication skills are important for sales, I can, and I want, because we know that the largest font size will be for the one which has received maximum number of inputs. So I can repeat communication skills 5 times to ensure that my answer becomes the most preferred answer. But when we look at the classroom mode, and I will suggest we use classroom mode for our teaching. Excuse me. So when we look at the classroom mode, unlimited answers are still possible, but the same answer cannot be repeated more than once. So if I want to put in 4 or 5 different skills, that is possible, but the same skill we will not be able to repeat. The moderator is when the answers are to be moderated by the facilitator, and locked is when no one can write any answers. Suggestion is to leave in the classroom mode. Now answer length, 20 characters or 40 characters. Again, I have seen that it is better to restrict it to 20 characters. because the longer you when you're giving them the option of 40 characters, then the students will tend to write more, and then it doesn't come across well in a word cloud. Let them be succinct, single word. You should largely promote single word answers. So 20 characters works well. And admin password, I have not used admin passwords. I not found it very necessary. But if you feel you want to use an admin password, so once you put in an admin password, a reminder email, etc., shall come to you. Spam filters on or off. So you will be the best judge to understand whether your class needs a spam filter. Are they the naughty lot? Are they are they all right? So if I normally leave the spam filter off, but again, it's a choice that you need to make. You want to have the spam filter on, there's no harm in it. So typically, then this is the case, upper case or lower case. So typically answer garden, what does it do is it takes all the words in lower cases. So until and unless it is very necessary for you to go in for an uppercase, suggestion to you would be to let them be in the lower case. Local discoverability, the question that you make will be accessible to other people as well. So do you want it to be accessible to the other peoples? Yes or no? If you want it to be accessible, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, I normally go in for hidden, where I want only the people who have the link to what I'm doing. They should be able to access it. And that's it. So with this, you create your answer gardens, and this is how it comes to the students. All right. Now, how do you share it? How does the student actually respond? When you scroll down at the bottom, you have these options. The two most prominent or the most easy to share options. One I find is the QR code. So you click on the QR code, it will give this tab or share image. Again, so what I would, just a moment. So what, for my sessions, what I have encouraged the students is to download an app for QR scanning, because a lot of these tools, they can be shared by simply scanning the QR code. So the students can be asked to use their phones or the apps, just like I am doing right now. So they can scan the QR code to access it. In case you don't want to do that, you go on to the share option. On the share option, there is a link that you have, and this link can directly be put into the chat option for your participants, and they will be able to access it. So we will take up an exercise presently. Yeah. So that is how your answer garden would be working largely. So what's good about answer garden? The good and the bad for the tool are the same, that it is very simple. I think the best, the topmost reason why I use answer garden in my classes, it's extremely simple. You just type in and you send it across to the students, and they can start responding immediately. It is free. There is no upgrade, there is no downgrade. It's a free version. There is no login, registration, account creation for students or the teachers. That can be shared, simple sharing techniques by the link or a scanned QR. It can be accessed. It can be accessed from the phone. It can be accessed from tabs. It can be accessed from whichever device the student wishes to use. And it creates word clouds. So it is possible to see all answers at a single glance. So those would be the things that are very, which work for answer garden. Now, what does not? What are the things that go against it? First thing, it's not very versatile. It can create word clouds, but that is about it. There's nothing additional that much that can be done with it. Individual answers cannot be traced. So if there's a class of 40 or 70 or 80 that we see right now, What individual students have written, we will not be able to find out. Active net connectivity is always an issue with online tools. Then it cannot be integrated with PowerPoint. So when I am dealing with you, I have to minimize this, go on to an answer garden, and that is how I use the tool. And most of the presentations in the class that we make are through PowerPoint. So any tool that cannot be integrated with PowerPoint stands to lose out a bit. The length of the questions, as I already talked, is limited to 65 characters only. It works very well as a formative assessment tool, but does not work as a summative assessment. And then, as I said, it cannot be used for quizzes. It cannot be used for yes, no, true, false, multiple choice questions. So, or to that extent, answer garden loses out. So answer garden in action, how can you actually use it? Supposing you've taken up a prose, you've taken up some text with them. How would you, so these are some of the questions that you can put in. What words would you use to describe the character? So you've taken up a story and you ask the students, what words would you use to describe the character of whatever the character of the story is? What are some of the traits of a good teacher? You can also, what are the topics you would wish to review tomorrow? And let every student write in the topic that has maximum number of votes, maximum number of students have talked about, you take up in the next class. So remember what we talked about, that these online tools make the channel of communication, it is not single unidirectional. It is not only teachers to students, teachers to students. The students can also get back to the teacher. I often use it when we are having, I am trying to promote a discussion in the class. So maybe I'm trying to get them for a group discussion. And so a simple question like, what was the biggest challenge you faced during the lockdown? And let each student write down whatever the challenge they faced was. What was the most important thing that you learned today? That is again something that can be taken up. What I would want all of you is to answer. We will take up this question of all the tools that you were exposed to during the FDP, which you think you are most likely to use. So I will just put up this question and I will, okay, so I had tried, how would you describe your experience during the workshop? So you can put in that question and let everyone answer. But as I said, this takes only 65 characters. So when I tried typing in of all the tools that you learned, which is the one that you are most likely to use, I could not fit in the entire question. But which newly learned tool are you most likely to use? I will request all the participants, we'll leave it in the classroom mode 20. This looks good. So I create my answer garden sheet. Let me share. Can I get on to the chat session? Can I accept? Yeah. So I have pasted the link in the chat session. If you want, you can access the link. The link to this particular activity is in the chat session. I'm also downloading the QR code should anyone want to use the QR code. Let's take a minute of all the tools that you are.
And your link is not there in the chat box. I think you need to go to the chat box of Zoom.
I go to the chat box of Zoom.
Yeah, just copy the link, go to the chat box of Zoom, open the Zoom app.
I did that. Okay, so this is a direct message. It's a direct message. Okay. Is it not visible? Okay. Uh, Visible now? Is it visible now? Yes, it. Yes, excellent. All right. So, of all the tools that you have learned, which do you think you are most likely to use? All right. So we are getting some answers. I think Mentimeter is by far the most, over here we see more people are looking at using the Mentimeter. Um, I'm also trying to answer. Let us see if this also comes in. So you may have to refresh the page a couple of times. So yes, so this is how you see Mentimeter. All right, so Mentimeter is the most popular one. You have Answer Garden, quizzes, Answer Garden. All right, so over here, if you see Answer Garden, once it has been written with space and once without space, so it is taken as two separate answers, Socrative and Edmodo. So these are the ones that you are using. So similarly, that is how you can create word clouds, and you can access it. All right, one. Okay, so when you look at it, you take your cursor on the words which have been used, and you can see how many people have actually answered. So when we look at Mentimeter, we have 2 people who have chosen Mentimeter, while Answer Garden, you see there's a single one, and there are single entries for these. I think Edmodo and Socrative, the same person has written, it is nice to send in separate answers. Do we have other people participating, or are we, shall we move ahead? I think we can move ahead. Basically, you have an idea of how this word cloud will work. Okay. So this is as far as Answer Garden goes. Next, let us move on to the next tool that I would want to share with you, and that is the Padlet. This is my personal favorite. I love using it. I've used it extensively in my classes. So what is the Padlet? Padlet is a virtual bulletin board. It is a collaborative web platform through which the users can share content. It works well with formative as well as summative assessments. It is very versatile. So with Answer Garden, we saw the major drawback was it was too simplistic. So Padlet is very, very versatile. You can upload text, images, videos, links, just about anything or everything. The posts can be liked, upvoted, graded. Like in Answer Garden, if someone has put in Mentimeter, you have no ways of liking or upvoting it. So that is possible in Padlet. So for the educator, it is possible to see all the posts at one go, does not require opening individual contributions. So that I found was one of the biggest the best features of why I went in for Padlet. Now, when you look at the landing page, this is what the landing page of a Padlet looks like. And one thing which I really like about this app, it has very happy messages coming in for you. So I'm sure the day I took a screenshot of the Padlet, it was a Thursday. So it always welcomes you with a happy, whatever. So it has a small, funny, warm greeting for you every time, and a different one every time that you log in. So that makes for happy teaching. It does require a educator account. So if you want to use Padlet for your teaching, you will have to create an account, and they are very, very regular in sending emails to your accounts on a very regular basis. So you just have to be prepared for that. All right. So let us check out Padlet. Yeah. I will put it over here only. All right. I hope the Padlet screen is visible.
It's visible, yeah.
Excellent. It has these interesting, sweet messages every time. So how does this work? In the free, so there is a free version available, and there is a paid version available. I can always upgrade it. In the free versions, up to 3 Padlets are free. Beyond 3, if you want to create more than 3 Padlets, you will have to upgrade. But 3 work very well, because once you have these 3, you can keep recycling it. So you've taken up one kind of assessment, you can recycle it, and you can use it for a different class. All right. So over here, see these tabs. So there is join a Padlet, gallery, and upgrade. Make a Padlet, get the shelf, map, canvas, and timeline. The most commonly used formats are the wall or the grid. So what happens in wall? All your posts will just do each other in the form of bricks. So there are no empty spaces left. In a grid format, what happens is that whatever the students post, they will be arranged in neat rows. So if there is one post which is longer than the other, there will be empty space over here. In a wall format, if there is one post which is longer, then the others will kind of adjust. So in a shelf, they are arranged in a series of columns. In the stream, it will be a single line, and I saw a very good use of the stream method, which I will just now share with you. Maps, of course, when you want different maps, comes in very handy when I was discussing cross-cultural communication. So, I used the map profile, the map template. The map template came in, and students could just post in different what kind of customs or what kind of cultures were used across different countries. Very interesting this turned out to be. Canvas and timeline. So you have the choice of selecting any kind of a format. So once you have done that, you will come to, okay, let's go back. Let's try and create one. So I make a Padlet, I choose the wall format, and then I will come to this page. So as I said, it keeps naming your Padlets. It will give some kind of a name to your Padlet. My Sublime Padlet made with a wink and a smile. It actually gets a smile to your face. All right. So now what you need to do next? You give it a title, what you want. So maybe I want to do I want to do BBA assignment. All right, supposing this is the assignment that I want to use this Padlet for. In a description, whatever you want that description. So maybe I want to encourage some kind of a group discussion. I want to use this as a trigger for a group discussion. And I talk to them about biggest challenge during lockdown. So maybe I want to talk to them about, I want them to put up the biggest challenge that they face during lockdown. So I've given the description. Uh, then we have this address. So by using this address, people, this will be the link to this particular Padlet. You have the options. They have some very, very nice wallpapers that you can choose from. You have textures, gradients, yeah, so you can choose a whole variety of either from textures, or they have these very interesting pictures. Maybe I want to use, all right, let's do conversation. Okay, so you use supposing you want it to be an anonymous contribution, you do not want to trace which student has posted what. So you will display author names above each post. You do not trigger this tab. But if you want, if you're taking it in the form of an assignment, it is an assessment and you want the student's name, you simply switch that on. New post positions, first or last. So as the people keep posting, do you want the first posted to be seen first? If you want them, the new post to be seen last, so that you have to scroll down, you will click last. But for me, largely first posted first works best. Now, this is important. Allow visitors to comment on the posts. Maybe I don't want them. I'm not sure what comments my students will put on a different post. So I normally keep this off. But if you want to encourage peer discussion, you can switch this off, switch this on also. But what works well for me, I'm sorry. Yeah, what works well for me are reactions. So I have the option of the posts being liked or upvoted or given a star rating. So sorry. So star ratings can be given to the post that the students put up, whether filtering is required or not, and map or domain, you don't need that. All right, next. We are all set, and this is all that it takes to set up your Padlet wall. So this is basically a bulletin board, like a soft board. The students, when you share it, just now we look at sharing, when you sharing with students, it is important. One thing that you need to keep in mind, you should enable, when you're sorry, when you are when you're looking at the privacy settings, please enable that the students can write over visitor permissions. Sometimes by default it is can read only, but what you should do is can write. If you want the students can edit each other's work, you click edit. But for assignments, can write is what works best. Yes. Now again, you can either copy the link to the clipboard. So it says copied Padlet. Now again, you can email it, you can embed it. So all of it is possible. And the QR code, of course, is possible. You switch it on, you leave it on your screen, you allow your students to simply scan it. All right, so let us look at, I'm going to share this. We will, let me share this on the chat. Yeah, so I've shared the link to the Padlet uh, on the wall in the chat box. Is the link visible? Is the link visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, great, great. So if you had to write, how will the students write? They can do it in two methods. You see a small plus sign when you open the link. You see a small plus sign. You open this and you can simply write in whatever your biggest challenge during the lockdown was. You can upload. If you have to upload an assignment, there is a tab for uploading. You can share links. You can share photographs. And if you click on the additional tabs, you can upload just about anything, videos, audios, links, GIFs, Spotify, just about everything. So yeah, so I will leave this. Yeah, so anonymous, hi ma'am, good afternoon. I get a good afternoon. This is how things will start coming by if you simply access it, and the posts can be seen in real time. It is fun, it is engaging. You can see I can rate it. I can give all of these, I can give them a 5-star rating. I can give I'm sorry, I can give these ratings. It basically makes it interesting for people to use. Okay. Uh, yeah. Now, what is good? Firstly, it is extremely user friendly. Okay. Before we come on to that, I'm sorry. One important thing that I forgot to share with you. Yeah. So we are getting all answers, not to the question. You can join an existing Padlet by clicking on this. But one very important resource is what you should definitely check out is the gallery. So what is the gallery? Gallery is a list. It gives you a whole lot of ideas about how you can use Padlets. So you have Padlets, tricks and tips and tricks, fictional prompts, responses. So this basically, if you're not very sure how to proceed with the particular how to create your first Padlet, go to the gallery. I like the way they have used. It can also be used as a complement board. So you set up for a student, let everyone leave compliments for each other. Interesting. Um, so there are lots of very interesting Padlets. Yeah, so over here you can have these individual Padlets dedicated to a particular student, and you give them headings that you write about yourself, you write about your hobbies, you write about your dreams, your strengths, your weaknesses, and this can be used. So please don't forget to check out the gallery if you plan to use the Padlet. All right. Yeah. So largely it is very user friendly. The submission. So yeah, this is again a very interesting feature of Padlet. Once all the submissions have been made, you can save them because as I mentioned that only 3 Padlets are free, and for more than 3 you will have to pay. So supposing you have used a Padlet for making for any assessment, and then you can simply save that in the form of a image, or you can save it in the form of a PDF file. So that stays with you, then that stays as a record for you. It does not go away. The happy messages on the side make it fun. It most definitely do. They can be used for engagement, motivation, formative, or summative assessments. Predetermined formats provide a number of options. So as I said, a brick format, a wall format, table format, all those can be used, and Padlets can be recycled or archived. What's not, the fact that it needs a trainer account, and Padlets love to send you emails. So They will send you, each time you create a new Padlet, they will send you a message saying a new Padlet created. So that can somehow clog your inbox and can make it slightly irritated. All right, so all posts are visible to everyone. So if you're trying to do an assessment and you ask the students to upload their work, so everyone will be able to, it's also the people will be able to see other people's work. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. Students access through shared link or app, I don't see much of a problem there. Yeah, so you can use it for short answers, you can use it for long answers. I used it very successfully for students. I was trying to do, again, when I was doing CV building, I was taking up a session on video resumes with them. And I asked the students to record their intros and use the wall and upload it on the wall. So that is something that can be done, and it went very well. And it's a paid resource beyond 3 Padlets. All right, so how specifically can you use the Padlet for collecting students' work? So collection of work is important. The reason why I put a red asterisk there, I'm just sharing. So these are some assignments that I had taken up with the students. As part of customer service, we were trying to do an activity on empathy building, and we picked up an empathy wall. So again, the question was the same, challenges during lockdown, and these were some of the answers they came. We used the wall for putting up notices. So what you see over here is once a particular class has finished, they have put in all their answers. I saved that particular Padlet as an image file, and that stays with my record. You can use it for uploading video submissions, things that you learned. So you, at the end of a session, you can ask them, what are the things that you learned today? And let everyone put in their session. Things that you wish to take up in the next session, you can put that up and let everyone use it. Getting feedback, what did you enjoy most? What did you enjoy least? I think the Padlet that I created, I was getting feedback that, all right, an informative session. You can use it for book reviews. So, and these kind of assignments can be given to the students, students' evaluation of a text. So in online teaching, often I saw that students, supposing I ask the students to submit an assignment and it will be submitted online. And if I don't want to put up on the platform, we normally use Teams and there is an assignment section. Supposing I'm using Zoom. So what happens for submission of the assignments, I tell the students, all right, you can email your assignments to me. So my email gets clogged with 30, 40 of these assignments, which I may not want. So for that, Padlet becomes a very good option where the students can simply upload their assignments on the softboard. It's great for peer review. Excuse me. So when you're doing peer review, upvoting, downvoting, giving star rating to the votes, so the students also tend to interact with each other. Thank you wall or a birthday wall. I recently, there was in a class, someone set up a Padlet birthday wall. So everyone went and posted birthday messages. Summarizing students' learning and group discussions, content creation. So when we are talking about group discussion, we are trying to tell them different techniques of group discussion. So I give them a group discussion topic, and the students put in their points or their thoughts on honesty is the best policy. You give them that topic and you give them 10 minutes to think about the topic and put up their points. And that becomes a wonderful basis of starting a discussion. So that is as far as Padlets is concerned. So I have a short while. I think I'll just take up Socrative. Again, you might have already been exposed to these. So I'll just go slightly faster. Mentimeter I will not take up because I'm sure a lot of us have used Mentimeter, and you would be comfortable using it. Socrative, again, I found, I have not personally used Socrative to that extent, but again, I find this a wonderful resource. It is a free quiz-based online student response system. It has separate student and teacher logins. So here, different from the others, that it will require a login. Only teachers need to register with their email. Students use it by entering specific room codes or the name of the teachers. And playing has always to be initiated by the teacher. It can be accessed via app or a browser. Now, again, this has a free version and it has a paid version. The free version will accommodate 50 students in a room and one public room per class. Only one activity can be launched at a time. Whereas in the paid version, up to 150 students per room, 20 rooms, 20 simultaneous activities can be launched. So yes, the paid version, the paid pro version is a much better version, but as educators and teachers, I find that a single room, 50 odd student works very well. So because this is a quizzing app, both Answer Garden and Padlet, these were non-quizzing apps. When you look at Socrative and Mentimeter, these are quizzing apps. So the teacher can add explanation to each item. So if you are taking, so Socrative can work very well for long distance courses, for purely online courses, in which case the teacher might want to add an explanation to the student, so that when the student clicks on an answer, he understands, he gets to know why his answer is correct or why her answer is not correct. Collaborative work is possible where students in teams can compete against one another and the results viewed in real time. And there's also an option of an exit tickets that helps in evaluating students' understanding of the lesson. So this is the landing page of Socrative. So it has a launch tab, quizzes, rooms, reports, and results. Then quizzes, space race, and exit. I think the space race is one of the best features and a very unique feature for this particular app. And quick questions. So quiz, of course, when you're looking at quiz, let's very quickly have a look at Socrative also. Okay, I hope the screen, the Socrative screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. All right. So this is what the landing page over here is. This is what the page will look like. So whenever you want to start a quiz, when you want to take a quiz, you'll have to come back to the launch page. And with this launch page, you can directly go to a pre-prepared quiz. If you have already prepared quiz like I had, so this world facts quiz comes inbuilt with the system. The moment you log on to the site, you will have this world facts quiz. I put in a short quiz, a social etiquette quiz, and that is what we look at. So once you choose a quiz, you will have to build the quiz. Just now we come at build, how to build the quiz. The next step, you have these options that you can look at. There's an option of instant feedback, where a student attempts and whether the question is correct or incorrect, and if it is incorrect, the feedback is given. So these will automatically be switched on. Open navigation is when a student attempts a question, goes on to the next question, has the liberty of returning to this question to re-attempt it. So in which case, feedback will not be seen. And teacher paced, when the teacher puts up a particular question while teaching, and he or she decides whether the student wants to move on to the next question. Largely, I go for instant feedback, and that is all that is required. All right. So once, as a faculty, as a teacher, I put up that question, I automatically come onto the results or the response, the results page. And how does a student access this page? Again, in the student needs to log into the Socrative student login and put in this room name. So every faculty, every educator will be given a unique room number. All right. For example, I go into into a Socrates student login. So when I come to a student login, I will be prompted to add the room name. Now, which is the room name? The room name is Singh 001. So as a faculty, I am allowed to give my room my name. So it will take a, so I put in the room name. Yeah, so I put in any name for myself. I mean, the students, of course, will be putting in their names. And then it brings me to this page where the questions, the pre-prepared quiz that I've already prepared, this is there. So, so this is a social etiquette quiz. You have invited whichever way. So, can the participants try and see if they can actually access this quiz? Please log into the student login, Socrates student login. Please click on to go to the Socrates student login. And over here, I can attempt. All right, so maybe I think answer A. I'm not reading the questions. Maybe I think. So when I answer, if it is correct, it will tell me. If it is incorrect, it will give it gives me the correct answer. Let your guest follow behind the method first. And it is the explanation that is given is it is polite to let the guest ahead of you. So it brings me to the next question. I'm just again, so this is incorrect. Let us answer. You encounter someone you've met before, but you can't remember his or her name. You should. Then I have 4 options. Walk up to him and say, hi, what's your name? Walk up to him, use a generic greeting. Walk up to him, use a generic greeting and admit. Let us see. I think this is the correct answer. And yes, this is the correct answer. You have invited a business colleague to lunch. Who pays for the meal? You, because you invited the colleague. And this is also correct. And the last, tell your client you're expecting a call. All right. So once the student has answered the quiz, it basically, this is the screen that the student will see and you have completed the current activity. Now, if you want to check how the students have responded, sorry. Yeah. So when you come to the results, all right. So we have, thank you, Ritu, for trying. Ritu has tried and I have tried. So I have, so it gives you, I have the option of not displaying the names. I can display the names if I want to. I can just show the responses, whether it is a correct or incorrect response, just that much. Or I can show the results. Right? So these are the options that we have in when you launch a quiz. All right. Now, how do you, for preparing the quiz also, if you have prepared quizzes on Google Formats or Mentimeter, this is very similar. The only good thing that is there over here, a slightly different thing, is that, sorry. Yeah, you have the option. There are certain templates which are available. And with these templates, you can use Excel to create your quizzes. The rooms, of course, I have I've renamed my room as Singh 001. You are free to name your room whatever you want. The reports, so yeah, so there are a whole lot of reports. You can see how the class has performed overall. Individual reports you can get from here, and results, of course, we have seen. Then the two features which are very interesting and which are different from the other tools that you see. First is by the use of space rays, you can promote team activity. You can have students performing in groups or teams, and this makes that gaming pedagogy that we had talked about, you can actually see it in action over here. So for example, I want to I have a class of 40, and I want to have some kind of a competition amongst themselves. So I use the same quiz. You choose a quiz. Next, choose the number of teams. So I have 40, maybe I want a team of 10 members each. I'll say 4 teams. Auto assign student choice, that the student can choose which team they want to be a part of. I'll go with auto assign. They have these really interesting icons. So there's a rocket, bear, bee. Let us go with the bee. Countdown, you can choose to have a countdown or not, but a countdown is a pro feature. Require names, show questions and feedback. All right, one more thing before I forget. A very good feature of this Socrative is it can shuffle the sequence of the questions. It can also shuffle the sequence of the answers. So A, B, C, D can be changed. So it makes cheating that much more difficult. Of course, students will still go ahead and cheat if they really put their minds to it. But it is easier to use this as a summative tool. All right. So once you start that activity, so here, this is what, so you have 4 teams, a blue, magenta, lime, and peach. When I log in to a student login, when I log in through a student account, it will automatically assign me a team. So it has assigned me a blue team. Fine. If any of the participants want to very quickly, I'll not take much of your time. If you can just try and log in to the student login, use Singh 001 as the room name, and log in. Yeah, so I'm simply answering the quiz. Yeah. So from a student login, I have answered. And over here, you will see that as more and more people who are part of the blue team, anyone with the magenta, lime, or a peach team, I'm not sure whether our friends have actually logged in or not. But if more participants log in, you can see over here how each team is playing against each other. So these things become important and fun, and they introduce an element of competition amongst the students. All right. So this is as far as space race is concerned. When you look at the exit ticket also is interesting. It will it gives 3 questions. The student gets to answer 3 questions. Again, let me just show what the student sees as in the exit ticket. So exit ticket will normally have 3 questions. How well did you understand today's material? So I say pretty well. Then what did you learn in today's class? So this is a short answer which the participants can write. And the third, so I say online tools. And please answer the teacher's question. So 2 questions, what did you learn? And the first, how well did you learn? Those 2 are pre-decided. The third question is something that I can take up in the class face to face. So when I'm talking to this is an option that I as a teacher have to introduce any question that I would want to. So for the time being, I'm just putting in nothing because there was no question. And this is how the exit ticket will come in. So it shows the results that S2I as a participant have chosen B, online tools and nothing. So this is how the entire results come. Once you finish an activity, the students will not be able to post after that. And then you have an option of exporting your results in the form of an Excel file or sharing it with the students. The last thing over here that I would want to share with you is the option of quick questions. So when we looked at quiz, that is something that you will have to actually pre-make, and you'll have to design it before you can share it with the students. But here with the option of multiple choice, true, false, short answers, supposing I take up a quick question. This over here, I ask you, did you understand this? Yes or no? Or I say that Socrative can be used for quizzing the students, true or false. So the student goes in here. The moment I have used this, so this question, I don't have to pre-decide. I don't have to make a quiz. I can verbally ask the question, the students, or I can put the question on the board. It works beautifully as a blended learning, and the student will see true, and I can simply, when you look at the teacher login, it shows that that one student has answered true. Similar. Similarly, you can have multiple choice questions. I can give the options to the students verbally. So let us look at, and this I will request for participation from our participants. I promise this is the last thing that we are going to do. So we have looked at Padlet, we have looked at Socrative, and we have looked at Answer Garden. So which of the three do you think you find most useful for your class? So please go into enter the room Singh 001, and I say A was Padlet, and I write Padlet, and you see the answer right. So you can see the answers happening in real time. All right. So there are two students who have answered Padlet, because so for these there are no you don't write down the for a classroom. So basically these are the options that you have. Yeah, so what's good about Socrative, it is quite versatile as far as quizzing is concerned. Yes, no, true, false, multiple choice, as well as short answers are possible. There is a downloadable Excel spreadsheet with data on overall class performance, individual performances. Quick questions allow students to answer in real time. Downloadable Excel template is also there for provided, making it possible for students also to create their own quizzes. Now, this is very interesting. You can share this template with the students, ask them to prepare a quiz which can directly be imported onto Socrative. Let the rest of the class answer. So there is a lot of involvement of the student. The student takes control of their class. The order of the questions as well as answers can be shuffled, making copying more cumbersome. Yes, that's all that we can do. What's not, I largely like the application overall. Free version, public room cannot accommodate a class roster. Yes, the attendance of the entire class, how many students are actually there, how many have answered, that cannot be accommodated. While images can be uploaded to the questions, audio or video files cannot. So that is another limitation. And so when you compare it with Kahoot or Quizzes, those are visually very appealing. Socrative is not as visually appealing. All right. Suggestive uses for team competitions, for summative assessments in form of quizzes, for formative assessments in the form of teacher-paced quiz questions and quick responses. I will stop here. Mentimeter, I'm sure we've done a number of times, so there's nothing new. There are just, I think, let me skip this and just come on to the final thoughts as far as these online assessment tools are. So the first thing that I would say is understand the need before looking for a tool. Don't go the other way. So I have a tool, let's see where do I fit in. Don't go the other way around. First, look at the need and then use the tool. Mixing more than one tool for one lecture. So avoid using an answer garden also and a Mentimeter also or a Socrative also, because then the student becomes more confused. Stick to one and exploit that one as far as possible. For more, use it for more than one questions. Master one tool in multiple lectures, multiple contexts before moving on to a new one. This is what has worked for me. So I began with the Mentimeter. I saw for histograms, for pie charts, for word clouds, for all kinds of things, how to integrate it in PowerPoints. I did everything with it, became more comfortable with it. And then I moved on to the next one. So again, I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm saying this is what worked for me. Maybe you would want to give it a thought. Exploit online resources. There are innumerable resources. Good people all over the world have created these resources. YouTube is the biggest help. Don't hesitate from going to YouTube for any doubts, glitches, or setbacks. Reach out directly to the app makers of this also. So usually all these apps, they have a session for taking questions or for suggestions, or sometimes they'll have a chat bot where you can ask. They are normally very quick in responding and prompt with the responses. And finally, reach out to friends, to peer, observe what is being used. So maybe in one lecture, someone has used something which you find interesting. Experiment, explore. Don't be afraid of experimenting. That is best. And lastly, attend FDP's workshops. That is how I've learned most of it. Enroll for online classes. There are so many portals. SWAYAM is there, Coursera is there. Go there. Keep enhancing your capabilities. You feel better as an educator, and you'll be able to deliver more engaging sessions for your students. So that is all from my end. I hope some learning has been possible. That is it.
Thank you, Snigdha ma'am. That was really very informative, very descriptive, and I would say that I don't know about others, but I learned a lot from it. It was all something
Thank
new.
you. I'm glad.
From the MCQs of Mentimeter and Quizzes, we came to know a lot about Socrates, and I would say especially about Padlet. And now I would request Dr. Rajeev Sikroria, HOD, Department of Management, Sunbeam Women's College, Varuna, to extend his vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Neelanjana ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to share the vote of thanks to Dr. Snigdha Singh. Dr. Snigdha, you have had the wonderful session for the faculty development program for Sunbeam Women's College, Varuna, and you have taught very well how to go for the online assessment tools and how to apply them. Since we know that if we have different tools and we are not using them, so it is worthless. So for that, the person should have the mastery over one tool. If it may be the garden tool or the Padlet or Socrative or Mentimeter, whatever. So first of all, the person should have mastery over one tool, and thereafter they can go gradually on the other tools. Thank you very much for this wonderful session. Over to Neelanjana ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir. And I would again like to thank you, Snigdha ma'am. It was really wonderful. As you can see in the chat box, people have written one of the best sessions till now. Yeah, everyone has learned a lot because
Thank you
pandemic
so much.
has taught us how to teach, but somewhere we are lacking how to have the assessment of the students being far. You helped us a lot. So thank you for your valuable time. Thank you for whatever you have taught, and hope to we have your session again. Looking forward to
I
it.
would love to. I would love
Thank
to.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
and
Have a
join
great
us.
day, all of you.
Thank you.